So you see these typical use cases here. These are just the most common use cases that we see in our fraud investigation specifically. And really the key benefit to implementing the use of AI and digital tools when it comes down to it is scale and completeness. I just wanted to mention that. So e-discovery and communication analysis is where AI has become a game changer and really transformed investigations in the last few years. In, these large investigations, there's no realistic way to manually review every email and chat message to determine what's relevant. But with AI's assistance, we can be much more efficient. So instead of reviewing and keeping track of everything, the use of NLP, like Sean mentioned, essentially it allows us to prioritize intelligently. And natural language processing can now very rapidly recognize things like names, which is something we call named entity recognition. It basically automatically extracts and categorizes things like names and addresses and phone numbers. And it can also recognize themes, topic modeling, and communication patterns. I've used AI tools numerous times to summarize contracts and point out specified relevant language. So it's very helpful for things like that. And NLP can also perform automated transcription, which I'm sure you've all noticed when joining like a Zoom or Teams call, and that little AI assistant pops up and offers to take notes for you. And it can also recognize sentiment. So this is sort of a new idea, right? NLP can analyze the tone and emotional intent in digital communications, and then you can use that to gauge things like urgency or detect threats or potentially even uncover deception. So extracting or identifying sentiment is critical when the goal is to prove intent in a fraud case, which, by the way, I think is the hardest element to prove. And more than likely, you'll rely on some sort of communication as evidence to assist in proving intent. So, all to say, the use of NLP tools to cluster or group communications is better than things like keyword searches because NLP tools can identify tone and shifts in language. And, obviously, we all know that AI cannot actually experience or express its own emotion, but it can certainly recognize patterns and language that reflect emotion, right? So if conversations, say, start out as formal and then suddenly shift to vague or coded or evasive, that can indicate attempts to avoid accountability or conceal facts. And NLP can also highlight inconsistencies and contradictions, which can be very helpful when you're reviewing communications that span a longer period of time. And again, this helps us prioritize and further investigate what really matters rather than spend valuable time combing through everything manually. And that's really the goal, not to replace review, but to focus it.